All right, so these are prisoners in the barracks or concentration camps. There's children and dogs are often mixed together. So this is all of these sources are part of the Holocaust Museum. This one's the Holocaust Museum in Washington. We talked about that. There's one here in our city. There's one in Washington, and there is one in Germany. All right. So you can see that they're all crammed together. They are in bad conditions. There is disease in here. There is insects. There are rodents. And they're in this at all different times of the year. So hot weather, cold weather, spring, and of course there's no air conditioning or light in here. All right, so source 2. What does the body of the man standing in source 2 tell you about what the prisoners experienced in the camp? So look at these men right here. Do they look like they're healthy? No. So what could you say? What's happening to their bodies if they're in the camp? They're weak. What about food?
Hungry.
They're hungry, so they're starved.
That still don't make sense to me of why they would starve them but want them to work hard. That doesn't even make sense.
Because food costs money. And they don't put the money towards it, yes. They mostly fed them like soup, bread, something that was cheap, not expensive, and they could share. It was not going to go bad easily.
I know they just eat for that.
So their clothes, as you can tell, like some of their clothes are hanging off of them. So it's kind of like, here's your clothes. So here is your clothes. They didn't really care if it fits you. There wasn't like, they weren't giving you new sizes as your weight changed. And like Amani just said, cold. They did not make a difference if the weather was cold or hot. You really are in the same clothes. So these, in color, you can tell them they're kind of like blue. They kind of like pajamas. So when you guys talk about how you saw the boy in the striped pajamas, think of that outfit. All right, considering the author is treated in fields in source 1, why do you think the Nazis would force this upon the prisoners? So we're back to source 1. Why do you think they did this to their prisoners? So why do you think as they entered in the prison,
Oh, I know.
Mary?
To give hope so they can work really, really hard like when they get in. Because they're gonna be like, if I work hard enough, they're gonna let me go. And I'm really gonna have such a, like they're gonna have an attitude but not as bad because they counted towards.
So you think if they go through this that they're going to have hope, like they can get out eventually?
Yeah, so they're gonna work hard. So they can be like, yeah, he's working hard, we should let him go.
Okay. Amani?
I think it's really because if they do something bad, what would you put? Like, what would they do? They could do something that's worse than like not cut out my hair. They do something that's like 2 times worse.
So like what else could they do to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, what do you think?
I thought like they wanted to make Jews like suffer and stuff like that.
So they wanted to make them suffer? You think they wanted to show like the difference between the guards and them? Yep. All right, so 4, you can write down any of those. Alright, this is source 3. So source 3, these are the gates for the concentration camp Auschwitz. If you watch videos on Auschwitz, we talked about how this is the largest death camp that was in the Holocaust. This is very famous, the gates of it. So that is in German, but it says, work sets you free. Alright, here is the 4th source. Is also another expert from one of the survivors of the Holocaust. When we arrived at the camp, we were told that the pipes for water and sewage had not been yet installed in the barracks, and that we would be doing the work to complete the job. We spent the next weeks, which seemed endless, working 16 hours of hard labor. We dug the trenches for the pipes, poured the concrete, and carried the pipes. It was exhausting and made worse by living conditions and a lack of proper clothing. My feet ached like never before in my life. I was issued old and worn shoes that didn't fit and were appropriate for work that they demanded to do. It was excruciating. Alright, so your fifth question. What were the conditions of the barracks in which the prisoners lived? And use source 2 and 4 to answer it. Miriam.
They were bad, but I feel like they were bad on purpose because they would have to like put pipes in it and do other stuff. So I feel like they want like, they know they're gonna be there for a long time. So they wanna make it as good as possible. So when they give like something dirty, they try to make the best out of it. Cause they know they gotta go get the pipes clean and dig it and all that stuff.
Alright, so the conditions, Miriam said the conditions were rough, they're bad. What about cleanliness? Eric, were they clean?
They don't know what cleanliness means. Not bad, they ain't care.
Alright, so remember, they had to do a lot of work that dealt with the barracks they're living in, so they didn't have sewage. So how do you think the impact of them not having sewage? Do you think it what do you think it created? Drama, Devasha? Looks like you said diseases. Yeah, so there was a lot of illnesses during the Holocaust. So what do you think with the illnesses and the lack of having doctors, what do you think that created?
Deaths.
Death, yeah. So there's a lot of death. Going back to 4 too. Right here they're talking about having to do the harsh work for 16-hour days. So they're probably retired. They're sleepy. They're in improper clothing to do this work.
They're just weak.
They're weak, yeah. And having no water, no sewage, but